coordinator, liaison between probation and court and parole, and we have about 80 beds.
I'm also with Christian Family Center office. Is that,
That's a microphone.
but it had hair on it. I'm Glenn Dole. I'm also the Christian Family Center. I'm the office manager and public relations coordinator, and everything else he said.
Okay.
Hey, my name is Jared Wyndham. I'm with El Shaddai's Refuge, 6-bed men's facility in Dublin, Georgia. I'm the founder, and then I'm also South Georgia liaison for GARR board.
Hi, my name is Amanda Williams. We have Virtue Recovery Services in Cartersville, Georgia. We service men and women. We have currently 20 beds. We have 3 vacant for men and 1 for females. Thank you.
I'm Chris Walker. I'm with the Department of Community Supervision. I'm the community coordinator for the Coweta Judicial Circuit.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tamara Middlebrooks. I'm the Projects and Interim Housing Manager with the Department of Community Supervision, Reentry Services Division.
My name is Christina McFadden. I work with Acceptance Recovery Center in Athens, Georgia. I'm the program director, and between our 2 centers, we have about 60 beds.
I'm Patrick Johnson with Acceptance Sober Living, not affiliated with Acceptance Recovery Center. Owner operator, we're in Roswell. We have 4 beds servicing men only.
I'm Jeff Dixon, Hazelbrook Sober Living. We currently have 11 beds, and I'm the housing director. I did that all out of order.
Kevin Montford, counselor with Victory Home, 21-bed men's program in the Clarksville, Tallulah Falls area. Wayne Cook, I'm a peer specialist with Victory Home.
I'm Jason Beck. I'm the Vice President of Programs at Rescue Mission in Middle Georgia. We have 120 men's beds, and we have 40 beds for women and women with children.
Cody Davis, founder of Four Winds Recovery, located in Marietta, Georgia. We are a 40-bed all-male recovery residence with in-house clinical services. Also one of the board members of GARR. Not sure what my position is anymore, but do a lot of stuff. Committee creator.
Hey, I'm Rudra Brumbulo with Valor Recovery House. We're in Marietta, Georgia. 30-bed men's facility, owner, operator, founder, also serve on the GARR board special events committee.
Hey, I'm David White, and I work for the Recovery Village. We're in Roswell, Georgia, and we are a detox residential facility, 60 beds that just opened up.
Hi, I'm Berkeley Hayes with We're Living Proof, the regional director, and across all of our cities, we have about 372 beds.
Hey, I'm Brandy Rogers. I'm the director at our Lawrenceville 3 campus at We Are Living Proof, and I have about 70 beds.
Hi, my name is Joe Zammett. I'm with We Are Living Proof. I'm the guest service at Lawrenceville 3 location in Gwinnett, and we have about 70 beds.
Chris Burns with We Are Living Proof. I'm the director at Lawrenceville 1 campus. We have about 77 beds at my campus.
Ryan Workman, program director of Four Winds Recovery and treasurer-elect to GARR.
Mark and Dodie Black, Kickstart Recovery, Gainesville, Georgia. We got about 26 beds. I announced her.
Oh, she's right.
Yeah, she's my wife. She's Dodie Black. She's a Dodie half.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
All right. Well, my name's Todd Wilson. I'm the executive director with GARR, and I love these moments because it really paints the picture of the extensiveness of what we do in recovery residence world, and also like the broad reach across the state. So I'm really excited that we're here today. Hank Arnold does amazing work in this area and really across the state as well. But Newnan is a a better place because Hank is here. And as we know, like when we're doing good work, wherever we're at, our local areas and communities are better places too, although they might not think so. And that's what this is really all about, is really trying to come together as a community and, fight the good fight. I'm excited that Thor is in the house. We're going to have a moment where they do a little bit more of a, I just want to give them a moment with the fuzzy critter. And but right now, just want to turn it over to Hank. Let Hank tell you a little bit about the awesomeness of Coweta Force. And then, like we always do, we're going to go break a little bread together. And then we're going to come back and take care of some other details, and then get into a really awesome training that is really what, again, this is all about, which is advocacy and how we can keep spreading the word and growing our programs and awareness and connecting with our communities. So I give you Hank Arnold.
All right. Woo! How y'all doing today? So welcome to Coweta Force. What do y'all think about the facility? It's really good, doesn't it? To be an independent, community-based, nonprofit recovery community organization. I feel very blessed and grateful to have the opportunity to have a space centrally located in our community that recovery has a front row, right? My name is Hank Arnold. I'm the founder and director of Coweta Force. I'm also a person in recovery. I haven't had a drink or a drug in a little over 13 years, what makes the rest of this possible, right? Which is amazing. And so you guys work in the recovery field, and a lot of you guys are also in recovery. So y'all know that the miracle of recovery is what makes the rest of our lives possible. And there's an element in recovery that is deeply rooted in service to other folks. And I tell you, what never gets old for me is having a front row seat at watching it happen for other people. I can watch that shit all day long. Can I say shit? It's my place. I can say shit, right? So I like seriously, like I have strategically positioned myself in a place to where I get a front row seat at seeing that happen all day. And one of the things that we don't have here is what? Like recovery residences. We have 0 recovery residences in Coweta County. We're an untapped market. And so I'm just going to give a little plug here for any facilities that are doing ethical, right? So we do have some places that I feel like structure-wise could be better, but we don't have any GARR certified or Thor approved facilities in Coweta County. And I think we could be a really good, probably like a best friend to a recovery residence here. Just want to throw that out there. So we do all kinds of stuff here, but basically our sort of guideline is if it's ethical and it's legal, there's nothing we won't do to see somebody get better. We'll work as hard as you do. We will match your energy. We will match your effort. And we don't ever have to give up on people. I appreciate that. We have some great partnerships and community relationships. We have an outreach program in the Coweta County Sheriff's Office. Every female in the Coweta County Sheriff's Office has the opportunity from 2 to 4 on Tuesday, which is today, to participate in yoga on the yard with a certified yoga instructor that's also a person in recovery. I also do an education and support group 2 times with 2 pods once a week. So it takes me about 8 weeks to rotate through the entire jail, but over 400 people that are detained have an opportunity to interact with someone in recovery. So I do an education group where I take my slideshow presentation in and I make different presentations based on, what the particular needs are. A lot of it is around advocacy. A lot of it is around recovery. A lot of it is around like next steps and environment and what substance use does to the brain and body and decision making. We also have our email. We have an email account on the kiosk in the Coweta County Sheriff's Office where we probably have 20 plus email correspondence with inmates daily. So we cover that. And then we also provide transportation to recovery residents from that facility. So many people in this room I know and have worked with, and those that I haven't had the chance to work with, I look forward to establishing that relationship with you. So our newer programs are, we just got funded for a 3-year initiative with our emergency department. So that's going to bring about 5 positions. So we're establishing that where anybody that comes into the emergency department on a substance-related injury or overdose will have the opportunity to meet with a certified recovery coach in that moment, bedside, right? Where we'll be walking people through next steps, connecting them to recovery support opportunities. And a lot of that may be at one of your places. And then we also have our newest initiative with Coweta County Juvenile Court System and DFACS for any parents that have DFACS or custody involvement, that they'll have an opportunity to have a recovery coach help them walk through their case plan, prioritize the things that are most important on that case plan, and then also advocate for them in court. If anybody's ever been for a custody hearing at a courthouse, everybody's got representation with the exception of the individual, with the exception of the parents. And those kids are going back into that home. And if we aren't doing a better job of supporting those parents that will get those kids back, the likelihood of them being successful into recovery long term is just not that great. So anytime we see an opportunity or a need in our community, we're trying to fill that. We also own a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom house 2 blocks from here that somebody donated to us. It's not the greatest place, but we have partnered with another nonprofit that's going to help us demo that. And we are in the process. By the end of this year, we will have a duplex. And so that'll be 6 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 2 blocks from here. So we got a lot of really cool things going on. One of the things that I've done is I have put some of our marketing material up here on this table. Welcome you to do that. We got a QR code that takes you to our website that talks a little bit more about what we do. Our impact statement, we had 24,000 people come through this building last year. It's a lot of freaking people, right? So we're making a big impact, but we need community partnerships. I'll tell you, one of our newest community partners that's been very valuable is the Department of Community Supervision. Chris Walker had to take a call and he's out. But one of the things I appreciate about Chris Walker, he's the community coordinator, is he uses one of our offices in this building on the last office on the right down the long hallway. And all new supervisees that he's meeting with, he meets with them in this building 2 times a month. I mean, that's just a really easy way to give people that he's meeting with a natural introduction to who we are. And if I'm on parole or probation, anybody ever been on parole and probation? I have, right? It's a lot easier to walk into a building like this than it is the probation office. It feels different. And we're also partnering with the Department of Community Supervision and Goodwill Training Center next Wednesday. We're having a reentry focused job fair with over 18 employers that specifically hire second chance citizens. We're also going to have the Georgia Justice Project here. Do y'all know who Georgia Justice Project is? They'll be here talking about early termination of probation, expungement, and pardons. They're also going to be doing a presentation in one of our rooms for about 30 minutes on that process and offer their services. So anything that we can do to support people getting better is what we do. We don't charge for services, which is fantastic. We're completely grant funded and donation funded. We have great partnerships with this community. We actually bought this building, which is crazy. We actually, behind the wall, the back wall, we actually have 3,000 more square feet for additional growth opportunities. And the property value, we got it at a good deal. We've already been offered double what we paid for this building, but we'll never sell it because we won't have the opportunity to be centrally located right here in our community. So we're grateful to host the GARR Network meeting. We're grateful to also have hosted lunch. So everybody likes lunch, right? And I appreciate Todd and everybody on the board and all you guys being here. So throughout your time here, feel free to kind of roam throughout the building and see what we have going on and think of strategic ways that we can partner with you guys with what you do for folks that you all serve. So anybody coming out of a recovery residence coming back to this community, we think we should have a relationship with those folks. So, any questions? Not one. I covered it all. Yes, sir. 24,270 people. Yeah. And those aren't unduplicated numbers. Our unduplicated for the numbers for the month are between 400 and 500 unique individual, and our duplicated numbers are around 1,700 a month currently. So that's not an unduplicated number. But we also know that the more people are having connection here, the better it is. So that is a fantastic number. That means that people are maintaining their recovery long term. So
You share with us how y'all raised the funds to acquire this building?
we're hustlers. Y'all are too. Y'all are too, right? So we were just getting after it. So 5 years ago, I was working at a treatment provider called Talbot Recovery Campus, and I worked there for 7 years. And I had an opportunity there was a director position available for one of these facilities in Decatur. And I was like, they had extended the invitation for me to fill out an application and apply for the job, and pretty much told me I had the position. And I thought it was amazing, but I was like, I don't live in Decatur. If I do something like that, I want to do it for my own community. And so we started with one meeting. We had $270 after 2 years. We had, we weren't bringing in money, but that also wasn't our objective. We started with one meeting where we provided a meal and childcare. And our first meeting, we had 8 people. And 90 days later, we had over 60 people coming to that. So we just started collecting that data. We got our articles of incorporation, got our 501c3, and then we just started applying for grants. And we got a lot more no's than yeses. But we learned how to write grants. We learned how to have relationships with folks that do grants. And we took some courses on grant writing, and we landed the ARSC grant that is $4 million. And that sounds like a lot of money, but we split $4 million with 16 other places like ours, which isn't a lot, but it was enough for us to get started. And then we just started digging into the community. We started being the program for our Kiwanis Club, our Rotary Club, showing up to every community event, setting up a table, giving out Narcan, giving out fentanyl test strips, being a resource in the community, talking with high school students, middle school students about drug use and the dangers around that. Not the just say no stuff, but the real information. Like, this is like the impact that it has on your brain and body and on your development socially. So we just started providing those resources at no cost. But anybody that would listen, we would just knock on their door and offer our services. So we also do recovery-friendly workplace training. We've been able to do that for 3 employers in our community. And so a lot of it is like, how do you as an employer identify people that struggle with substance use or mental health challenges, and what are ways that you can leverage your relationship with them to support them in their wellness. But we just started applying for grants. As a matter of fact, our grant writer now is a young lady that we met in the Coweta County Sheriff's Office 4 years ago during that yoga class. And she got out and got after it and got real busy. And so we were able to hire her as a full-time staff. And now she does all things like our HR stuff, our onboarding, our hiring, our trainings, our manuals, our policies, procedures, all of that stuff. She's just very gifted at that. And so we take people that have the ability, the raw talent, and develop people in recovery and give them a career and a job. So we raised the funds. So all of our funds for this building was locally raised. So the faith community, different churches and organizations, also individuals that come through that we partnered with this guy that has a local foundation. So we just Google searched nonprofit foundations in our community and came across this guy. He was also in recovery and he manages the foundation. So he was like, I'd love to give you guys money for this initiative. So we just kind of got after it. Every room in this building is sponsored by a different agency, organization, or family. So we were able to raise a lot of funds through room sponsorships. And we just kind of get after it. We focus on the relationship. And I know that when our motivation is pure and we just want to serve our community and the people that are suffering and those family members, I feel like the finances kind of do show up. So that's been, my wife says, so she's the spreadsheet queen. Any spreadsheet folks in here that love spreadsheets? Raise your hand if you love. Hell yes. Thank you. Because that's not me. That's not me. I have the passion. I have all that stuff. I have all the big ideas that don't fit on the spreadsheet. She said, there's not a line item for God's got this on the spreadsheet. But that's my go-to. My go-to is God's got this. And she's like, our board doesn't really respond to God's got this. So we're a good team because we think and operate very differently. And it is about having the right people on the team. It's about having that diverse skill set on the team and training people and investing in people because people are grateful for that. So right now we have 6 full-time staff. We have 4 vacant positions here for our emergency department initiative. So anybody that knows of anybody in recovery that would be a good fit for a recovery coach in the emergency department, please keep us in mind. So yeah, any other questions?
So is it fair to say that all of this is kind of the fruits of advocacy?
I would say absolutely. Yeah. It is 100%. It is 100%. So anytime there's something at the Capitol, if there's something at our city hall or a relationship with our Senator Matt Brass or our House of Representatives Lynn Smith or our Sheriff Lynn Wood, all those people support us. So when they can leverage their position to create funding opportunities or just the capacity to have more like support from our community, organically it has just we have a large social media presence. We do a newsletter. I want to say monthly. We want to do it monthly, but we're all just really busy. Sometimes it's every other month. But even through those, we have people that like donate to us that's never been in this building just because of what we do on our social media and our newsletter. We get reoccurring donations. People do Facebook fundraisers for birthday fundraisers. Y'all familiar with that? Last year we raised, I think, $15,000 just based on people's Facebook fundraisers, which is like unreal. The cool thing about Facebook is they take $0 from any fundraising efforts. So if you're a nonprofit, you can get that donate button on your Facebook page. All those funds you get 100% of that money. So, but yeah, all advocacy stuff. That's how I met Chris. That's how I formed the relationship with DCS. I love having a relationship with DCS because I spent so much time on supervision and DCS has gotten so much better. In 2015, they merged with parole and probation to form Department of Community Supervision, and they are doing a fantastic job of really wanting to, changing the way that they do business as far as supervision. And I appreciate that because in the 90s and early 2000s when I was on supervision, it was very different. I get out of prison and I would show up to the office and I would have one dirty urine and I would go back to jail. And that doesn't give you a free pass, but they are more like understanding of your circumstances and situation and do a great job of linking people to support services. So I appreciate DCS. Thank you guys. Anything else? Anybody besides Cody got questions? Awesome. Thank you guys.
One thing I forgot to mention is, as normal, thegarrnetwork.org, THEGARR, network.org is where you're going to go and sign in so that you get credit for being here. Get your CEs and all that stuff. So make sure you do that. Folks on the Zoomer, make sure you do that, please. And as per usual, thank you for reminding me about the social media newsletter. Nobody leaves. Nobody leaves. It's like Hotel California, right? Until we get a picture taken. So
Can we do that? Right in front of the sun.
We could do it anywhere you want, man. It's your photo, but yeah. Well, it's our photo. It's like a co-op photo, right? Yeah. So nobody leaves. When the meeting's over, we're gonna get a photo, and then you can leave. Okay. And guess what? We're gonna know you left because you're not gonna be in the photo. All right. All right. Ready to eat? Ready to go? Yeah.
So lunch is across the hall in that table around the conference table, so you can grab your lunch in the cooler by the door. There is there are drinks on ice. We have some Cokes and some Diet Cokes and water. So make yourself at home and come grab some stuff up here. Also, if you haven't signed yet for our purposes, we appreciate it. You'd sign on on our signing sheet on the book.
Cool. Let's go eat. Break some bread. All right. Before we get into the training, I just wanted to take this opportunity to have a couple of comments, introduce a couple of people, kind of bring you guys up to speed a little bit on some things that are have been going on. I met with Tamara a couple weeks ago. Yeah, a couple weeks ago, we sat down, we had coffee. She's with Thor, and we had a good chat, compared some lists, and I just wanted to give her an opportunity to just kind of introduce herself. We have been kind of joining forces over the last few years, and just wanted to take this opportunity to kind of just show that we're in the same house together, right? And that we're talking, and that we're here to help our state continue to grow ethically, best practices. And, there's just a multitude of new programs that keep coming on, looking for support, looking for guidance, looking for mentorship from us and from also some of the veterans. And so it's always good to see some veterans in the house and know that it's important that we all stick together to help each other grow and provide the vital services that we provide to help people move on with their lives, but more importantly, really literally to save lives. So I'm going to give you Tamara. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you again, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Tamara Middlebrooks. I am the projects and interim housing manager. I say interim, been in this position for about a year and a half now, so it might be a little bit permanent, and I don't know about it. But I thank Todd for invited me to the meeting. When we had our conversation 2 weeks ago, we wanted to be intentional about our partnership because we have worked with GARR since we required all of our Thor providers to become accredited back in 2019. And so we've been working with GARR as one of our GARR accreditation providers, as well as a few others. But this relationship, we've had a closer relationship with them because majority of our Thor providers are in fact GARR certified. So we've been intentional about how we're planning to work together collectively moving forward. You all will see me or one of the DCS program housing specialists at all of these meetings moving forward. You all will have direct access to us to ask us questions, to let us know what's going right, what's going wrong, what we might need to assist you all with. We want to be a presence, not just when we're doing our annual compliance checks with you all, not just when we're doing unannounced visits. We want to truly be here to support you all because you all are working day in and day out with the people that are under supervision. As Mr. What was his last name? Marvin. Thank you. Mentioned earlier. Arnold, thank you. As Mr. Arnold mentioned earlier, Chris Walker is our local community coordinator for this circuit, and we have individuals like Chris all throughout the state. We have approximately 20 staff who are doing the exact same work that Chris is doing in this area. So you may see Chris, you may see someone else, but we want to let you all know that we are here to work alongside with you all. Yeah, you all are quite all right to work alongside you all, and we're here with whatever it is that you all need. So I will bring contact information next go around, but I can definitely share it with you all. If you all have any questions, I always invite you to send us an email to our housing email group, which is housing@DCS, like Delta Charlie Sam, .ga.gov. You can ask us anything. It goes to everyone on our team and someone will get a response back to you. So again, thank you for inviting me and thank you for this partnership, and I look forward to more.
So real quick, wanted to make an announcement. more and more conversation about this will occur, obviously, once you understand what I'm about ready to say. We've worked, well, this man has worked. This is Jeff Breedlove. If you don't know Jeff Breedlove, he is one of the biggest advocates for recovery in the state, if not the Southeast, if not the country, and works very hard every day for all of us. With his guidance, we put together some language that turned out to be enough to move that language forward in the Capitol, and now it's become a bill, SB 331, which is about recovery residence certification in the state of Georgia. So it is just been dropped towards the end of session, so it's got a little air underneath it. It will be something that will be more in play next year, next session. Yep, looking for you to yep, okay, so that I know, yeah, okay. I know very little about what I'm talking about right now because I try to spend time with this guy and learn. And so wanted to take this moment to just thank Jeff and all of us be aware of the hard work that he will be doing for us as an organization in the coming year to help us and guide us through those things that we will don't even know what we don't know right now, but want to take an opportunity to really express our gratitude and let everybody kind of be aware that that's where things are right now. It's very important and process, and other states have made those moves. How ours is going to look in comparison to theirs will remain to be seen. But I just wanted us to, number one, give Jeff a hand and appreciation. I don't know if you want to say just a few words or. Yes, we're going to do the panel. Yeah, okay. Whoa.
So what does that mean for the individuals in this room and also on Zoom and our membership? Well, it means that we're starting to move in a more legitimate direction. We are being recognized as the experts in this matter. So here's the deal. I am now the lead of the committee that is in charge of making sure that this bill passes and working in tandem to make sure that it actually includes everything that is important to us as GARR operators. Make sure that it is going to be something that is conducive towards you continuing to provide quality and ethical care. So if you feel as if, hey man, this is something that's really important to me because this is something that I'm going to have to do one way or the other, please come out to me after the meeting, get in touch with me, be a part of, because you're going to start to hear a lot from us in this year ramping up of what we're going to ask of you guys. Because quite frankly, it's not just going to be the board who makes this happen. It's going to be our membership that makes it happen. And continuing to show up for some of the stuff that we're going to have coming up in a lot of different areas. It's not just going to be, hey, come to Atlanta to come help us out. No, we're going to be asking you to go into your local communities to be able to advocate for what is to come. So if you find that to be important and if you feel as if you want to be a part of, please come talk to me afterwards because we're going to be ramping this up and it's going to take a hell of a lot more of us than just the board members.
Okay. With that said, hopefully you see that there's just a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes of which we need help, always need help, always looking for those that want to participate at a higher level. And there's just a lot of stuff, a lot of things going on. So without further ado, we are just 5 minutes behind schedule, which is fantastic in the whole grand scheme of things. We are ready to start the panel.
Yep, come on. Let me get my panel people on here.
I gotta sit with Ross away this minute.
You're welcome.
That's okay. Yeah, no, that's perfect because we're gonna get Hank in here, so that'll work perfectly. All right. So before we get started, I would just like for each one of you to introduce who you are and what it is that you do. So yeah, go ahead.
I'm Christina. I'm with Acceptance Recovery Center in Athens, Georgia, which is an intensive recovery residence. Our foundation program is a minimum of 12 months, and then we have an additional up to 12 months for our alumni care program. We serve men, women, and gender nonconforming individuals. I'm the program director, so kind of do a lot of things. We don't really have like one set job description, but mainly these days just doing the behind the scenes, making sure the lights stay on, administrative, that kind of thing, and looking over our clinical services.
I'm Jeff Breedlove, a person in long-term recovery. I work at the Georgia Council for Recovery. I do their communications and advocacy. And my active addiction lasted 30 years, and I've been in recovery for 6 years, and I'm honored to be here.
Y'all already kind of know me, but I will just state on the advocacy. He's part of our strategic plan has been having good relationships with our elected officials, reducing and eliminating stigma by how we talk about recovery.
Yeah.
A lot of it for us is 12-step lingo doesn't translate well to the Rotary Club, right? And so having a new set of language that we can talk about recovery. I'm a 12-step guy, so I get that, and I understand sort of that language. I know what that means, but it doesn't always translate well. So a lot of what we've done is around messaging and being a part of the community.
So my name is Jason Beck, and I'm with the Rescue Mission of Middle Georgia in Macon, Georgia. We have 120 beds for men. We have 40 beds for women and women with children. We ask for a 1-year commitment for anybody coming into our program. We like to say, at least I like to say, we're for anybody, but we ain't for everybody, you know. So we'll give anybody a shot. We're really open to it, you know. We will take mental health because we do know that that's definitely an issue out there. But anyway.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, thank you for all of you for being here and being of service to our membership for what you do in the field currently. So we'll rip right into it. So first question that we have is, what does advocacy mean to you and why is it important in the recovery resident space?
That anybody jump off and answer first? Yeah. So yeah.
Stop real quick.
Yeah.
Thank Jason because he found out that he was going to be on this panel about 12 minutes ago.
Hey, you know, so I'll tell you what we're about at the Rescue Mission is we are a faith-based organization. The recovery, that we offer there is by way of Jesus Christ, and he tells us be ready in season and out of season. And so, 12 minutes. So, but thank you very much for the opportunity. It's always cool to talk about recovery. I think it's important. 20 plus years of active addiction. I'm headed off into 15 years, clean, sober, and new life in Christ. And I think that, getting people to see that, hey, these are human beings. It's important. It's so easy to look at the behavior and judge based on the behavior and what folks see and not look past that thing. And I find it invigorating and man, I'm very passionate about being able to tell people that, hey, there's hope. This is a life and this person can change. People can change, and so anytime I have an opportunity to get out there and just pump people up, the way we look at it is we tell people that, hey, look, we're all in recovery. The way we look at it, we're all recovering from a life without Jesus Christ. And so in that case, we're all on level playing field, in that regard. So anyway, pass with that.
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, brother.
So advocacy, is so eloquently put on the documentary, The Anonymous People, that I picked up is rooted in anger. Right? And when you see a population, you see people that are hurting now or being treated unjustly, fairly. It comes from like that perspective. And I go,
Yeah.
talking about me, you're talking about talking about the people I care about, you're talking about the valuable members of this community.
Yes.
And with that being said, oftentimes I am in a room and the only representation of recovery in that room, which I feel incredibly honored to be a representation of recovery in any room because oftentimes we aren't represented in rooms. People are making decisions about us all the time without us.
Yeah.
And I think that they mean well, but oftentimes, like, let's lock his ass up might not necessarily be the thing or whatever. So, for me, advocacy means that we get out there and we get to talk about human beings, and humanize people. And then also the most impactful thing in advocacy, especially when you're in a population that may not understand us or who I am as an individual, as a recovering person, is telling that story. When you tell that story and you can show that this is the way my life was and it's not like that today, and that also you can be a part of somebody getting better.
Yeah.
Who doesn't get behind other people to do better? And so not only changing my language, not only telling the story, but also creating opportunity and capacity for different agencies, organizations, and individuals to be a part of somebody else's comeback story. That has done a lot to draw people in. And that, for me, is what advocacy has been about in this community.
For me, I think advocacy is it's offensively, it's about our rights. We're taxpayers. We're Americans. We're people, and we have the same rights as everybody else. Defensively, it's that I think the most dangerous part of the disease is both stigma / discrimination. And you can split a hair, what's the difference? But it's out there. And I'll say this, from your business perspective or your personal perspective, you may not, as Cody was alluding to, advocacy you may not think you like it. You may not think it's important. It may not be a part of your professional or personal life, but I do need to tell you this. From the federal to the state to the local, your government focused on you. You may not be focused on them, but they are focused on you. And they're focused on you for two reasons. One good and tragic, and the other not so good at all. The good and tragic one is as the number of deaths keep increasing, as the number of news stories get in the news, and some of those news stories impact recovery residencies. And there's a scandal in Florida, a scandal in California, and a lawmaker in Atlanta watches that news story and they go, well, we got to fix that. Well, that's you. So there's a rising number of news stories and a rising awareness of every part of behavioral health, mental health, and addiction. And it's just I think it's a choice each individual business or organization, and then each statewide organization is going to have to make. How in tune do they want to be with stuff going on about them around them? The other part of that is, and you can take this or leave it, there's people out there who will show up at the state capitol to a committee meeting who live in communities like Newnan and the one you operate in, and get up in public in 2023 behind a microphone and use cuss words and other kinds of negative words to describe me, you, and the people you serve. And they will call us every name in the book and say we don't deserve taxpayer dollars, and say we are literally doing Satan's work, call us communists, call us things that I will not say on a camera, and put them in an email. They don't support what you believe in. And we need to show up. And that's why GARR is so important, and the work that Todd does and the board. What GARR is doing is setting a professional standard with stakeholders to literally say, don't pass laws that impact the people we serve without including our voice. And GARR is in the Capitol doing that. GARR is saying we have every right to taxpayer dollars. We have every right to opioid funds. And you need, and you're blessed to have leaders like Todd and Cody and Mason and others on the board that have stepped up to the plate and are fighting to make sure that you know what your opportunities are. And that's what advocacy is to me.
Well, I don't know that my answer is going to be as thorough as all theirs, but, just basically, like they said, advocacy to me is being a voice to those whose voice has either been silenced or not heard. Give recovery a voice, speaking out against the stigma, changing the idea of having to be anonymous. And speaking out and being loud about recovery. We talk a lot with our residents about, changing their language from addict and alcoholic to a person in recovery. And just letting them know, that there are resources available to them and connecting them to those resources. And we were created to serve an underserved and overlooked population. And so, again, just getting out in the community and being the voice for them and encouraging them to have their own voice is really what advocacy means to me.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. How can I cultivate a better relationship with local government agencies such as the Department of Community Supervision or the local sheriff's department?
Well, for us, when we opened our doors in 2016, and at that time we were just trying to keep the doors open. But part of what made us successful was going to our DCS office, going to our local accountability courts and our judges, and just giving them a presentation, letting them know what we were doing, why we were doing it, and just allowing them to have an open and honest conversation with us. That really helped because it gave them an opportunity to, ask those questions and understand why we were doing that work. And then we would give tours. We would just go around the state of Georgia, and anybody that was willing to listen to what we had to say, we would go out and give those presentations, and that just really helped build that community for us. And how you do it, you just show up. So that's really how we got started.
I'll echo that. I served as chief of staff to members of Congress and other things. And the first thing we understand is when you show up, and especially under the banner of GARR. So I think the very first thing is get involved with the work that the GARR, your state entity, is doing. And when they have a committee for local affairs or for whatever, I don't care what the committee is, when they have a committee, get involved in it. And that makes you an expert. So here's a clue. When GARR comes in to sit down with a member of Congress or a state senator or whoever, I'm telling you a secret. You wouldn't have even gotten in the room if they didn't think you were an expert. They're not experts. They don't know. They don't know anything about this stuff, any more than they know about transportation or agriculture. They learn from experts. So the first thing is, and there's a difference from arrogance and confidence. I'm not saying be arrogant and cocky and all that, but have professional confidence that guess what? You're an expert. Yeah. You're sitting in a room in Newnan, Georgia on a beautiful day. Most of you, I'm sure, have driven from some other city to be here. You're a leader. And these are your leaders. And leaders lead together. So you're the expert. The other secret is, I mean this, just show up. Just ask for the meeting. It's not complicated. They may not meet with you the first time. You may have to go find an ally to say, hey, don't you know Hank over there at the office for the community affairs in our district? Can you put a good word in for us? I mean, you might have to work for it, but persevere because you'll get in the door.
Yeah. I think about ways to establish relationships is showing up. And relationships don't just happen.
No.
Right? It requires intention, it requires effort, it requires energy, and it will not have, it's like any other relationship you have that is valuable to you, it's an investment. So we had a particularly hard time with our sheriff's office. And so I just started kind of researching. A good thing when you're looking at organizations, look at their mission statement. That's a great place to start. Our sheriff's office mission statement specifically includes community partnerships. And so does my mission align with any part of their mission? And that oftentimes is the basis for my messaging when going in there. So with the sheriff's office, I always start with the sheriff. We had breakfast. That was a great place to start. And then I try to target people in the agency or organization that speak my language. That's going to be your chaplains and your social workers, right? Lunch. I mean, take $25 out of your budget and go do lunch with a social worker, right? Another thing that you can do is locally here we have a sheriff's citizens academy, we have a county citizens academy, we have a city citizens academy, we have a sheriff's citizens academy. Those are free academies that they want to showcase and talk about the different departments or offices that they have within the county, the city, or the sheriff's office. Enroll, have a staff member go through the Citizens Academy at the sheriff's office. We've done that. We've done that here with the city, the county, and the sheriff's office. And those are strategic ways to initiate a relationship. And when they have things, when you're elected official, when you're mayor, when a city council meeting, when they have events, show up to those events and ask them, like, what can I do for you? Is there something we can do to be a good partner? And those are all things like I learned primarily through the with the council. It's a big part of like teaching me how to do those things, but they don't just happen. They're inconvenient. A lot of times they're after hours, right? And I know that it's an additional challenge, but the benefits of doing that and cultivating those relationships have been unbelievably beneficial for us. When we have an event and we text our Senator Matt Brass on his personal cell phone and invite him, he will show up. I text my sheriff, Lynn Wood, and ask him to show up for something that we're doing, he shows up, right? And that's been the result of those intentional relationships.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to reinvent the wheel here, right? It's they've said it all. It's just making yourself available, reaching out, creating relationships, calling, going down there. We have a great relationship with our community Department of Community Supervision in Bibb County. We invite them to our facility. We give tours to them. Any new officers that are coming up, we open the doors up. The doors are constantly open. To the point where we've created the type of relationship when men and women they're there on our property. They have multiple different officers. Well, they assign one officer, and one officer comes out to the property and just kind of puts eyes on. And so, but it's not just Bibb County; it's also Houston County, Jones County, Crawford County, all those other surrounding counties. We make it a point to call, to reach out, and to just invite. Lunch is a great thing to invite to, but just pick up the phone. There's something silly that I like to do is I've got hundreds of officers in my phone. Man, if God puts an officer on my heart, I will reach out to him. I'll just say, hey, I'll call him. Hey, is there anything that I can do to help you, Mr. Beck? Nope. I just wanted to call and let you know, hey, we got available beds. If you got a man, he needs help. We want to be that. We want to be that place. If you got a lady, a woman with children, if she needs help, we want to be there for you. I just wanted to, because if you put yourself constantly on their mind, they will think about you. So. Yeah.
What is the best way to approach someone who has a NIMBY attitude. And for those of you who don't know what NIMBY is not in my backyard. So those folks who pretty much all call us those people, and the ones who are our opposition towards what it is that we're doing. What is it that how is it that you guys as strong advocates would recommend for someone to engage with someone like that? How do you handle someone like that?
So, well, I guess I get to go first, huh? Yeah. Lovingly, for whatever reason, they have this stigma. Try to get to a place of understanding of where they're coming from. It's really easy to want to pick up the stone and hurl it back, but that's not going to get us anywhere. We try our very best to try to get some understanding of where it is that they're coming from. A lot of times we found that, some of these attitudes towards this is coming from a deep place of pain. There's been a family member in the past. Maybe there's been a terrible divorce because, a spouse had some addiction issues or whatnot. And so that's served us well. I'm not saying that that's every situation, but having, if you take the time to maybe engage the individual, maybe on a one-on-one or something like that, something a little less combative for them, it goes a little bit better.
I think being able to show up and be consistent. I feel like we're for us. I just kind of think that we're under a microscope all the time, which is fine. But also not only for myself but also for our team and our volunteers to make sure that we are talking about that and that everybody that represents our organization is doing a good job of doing it in the community. One of the things that we've recently done is we will adopt a street. Coweta Forest has adopted a street and we will do quarterly trash cleanups, right? For the street that we're on and the street on the other side of the way stop. Those are good public ways. People just drive by those street signs all the time. Those are good ways. And there's one lady at the sheriff's office that still does not value anything we do in the sheriff's office. And I remember walking in a few months ago and she was like, y'all are back here to do yoga. And she was like, what's next? Cooking classes. And I was thinking, shit, that's a great idea. But just being consistent. But there's been so many people just through the way that we carry ourselves, and when we do encounter those negative cultures and stigma, is that we just, with the most integrity, walk through those conversations and situations with the most grace and the most love, and know that that individual just doesn't understand. If they truly understood what we did, they would feel the way that they feel about it. And is there something I can do to be in a relationship with that individual to help them maybe see the other side of things? I think also being able to celebrate and tell stories is a great way to do that. Most papers, so our paper only prints on Wednesday here, but they still run online ads and Facebook ads. Find you an editor that's willing to do a recovery messaging training and create a relationship with that newspaper writer. They have a quota that they have to meet here. And so we all the time when we have a story, all of our staff have been featured and highlighted in a large feature in our newspaper. And those are also ways they can talk about their recovery story. But I think having the opportunity to have that, whoever's writing that story, do a messaging training is also very beneficial for the nature of how that story is going to be relayed in newspapers. But those are great, all good ways to do that, and just be public and
I agree. That's core. And I also agree that you always start off, in my opinion, positively and collaboratively and from a position of humility. But and sometimes those work. And I guess I've been involved in the past couple of years in some frontline battles in Georgia. And we're kind of 2 and 2, just to be blunt, with 2 undecided, 2 still going on. And it can get unprofessionally ugly. Fort Wentworth, Georgia. Anybody know where that is? Anybody know where Savannah, Georgia is? Okay, well, Fort Wentworth is a independent city that is literally next to the north side of Savannah. So it touches Savannah. And it's 14,000 people. It's a city, a legal city. And there's one of our folks, she wants to put 6 beds in. And I've been to the property. It's way far away from everybody. And, you know, I think things either pass or they don't. That's cool. But here's the deal. The city council building, it's not much bigger than this building. It's a small city. It sits next to a strip of 4 stores. Not for prohibition or anything like that, but I just want to paint the picture. They have given a business license right next door to City Hall for a drive-through liquor store. Drive-through. City Hall. And next to that is one of the vape stores. And right out in front of it, Delta 10, Delta 8, all kinds of stuff with all kinds of signs that I'm pretty sure violate their otherwise signs. It's just right next door. So Port Wentworth's world vision of us is perfectly fine for a business right outside our window to sell Delta 10 and Delta 8. No problem. Big sign. Perfectly fine because you know that the young kid working at the drive-thru is thoroughly checking all those IDs. You know that nobody ever gets through that drive-thru who's lower under the 21 or intoxicated already. It never happens in the good city of Port Wentworth. But by God, you want to put a 6-bed place out in the middle of the woods that's going to cost $50,000 a whack for a person to go there. Those people are going to bring crime to our fair city. Here's how we're going to deal with that in Fort Wentworth. You're going to give you a set of rules that you have to follow. And when you and your attorney follow them, you know what we'll do in the middle of a meeting? We'll just change the rules. That's the epitome of NIMBY. So at some point, after you've tried to get along, after you've met everybody, you have 2 other choices to make. And there's really only 2 other choices. You got to go the legal route, and more times than not, we will win. Or you gotta kind of do a different kind of advocacy, and that's have rallies and show up. And that's why you need a GARR, because you got to have a statewide network behind you that can help you rally the troops. So, and then GARR knows other statewide groups, and GARR can call in the cavalry. And if one of you is under attack in ways that are just completely unfair, where they're like literally changing the rules on you, that's the value of a GARR, that they can help you do that so that you're not alone. And so there's 4 ways to do it. There's nice, there's get to know, there's legal, and then there's the last resort, confrontational.
Well, again, I think they've all pretty well answered it. You know, when we first opened, our founder, CEO, Brandy Anderson, she looked in 6 different counties. And at the start of it all, she was looking to open just a small women's program, 18-bed facility, 12 to 18 beds. And she got NIMBY and a lot of doors slammed in her face. And I think the one thing that, you know, got us to where we are today is just not giving up, being consistent, as most of y'all said, you know, education. I mean, again, you can only do so much, but you still try, and just persevering through that. I think, again, you know, what helps us is sharing our residents' recovery stories. So we share their goodbye to addiction letters. We have a heavy presence on social media. So just trying to branch out and, you know, sharing when our residents meet like milestones in their recovery. So having our alumni show up and say, you know, I was in prison for most of my life. I never held a job. But now today I've held the same job for 3 years, and, you know, I'm 2 years in recovery, or whatever it is for them, just sharing those stories. And, you know, you're not always going to get the win when it comes to that. But, you know, if you keep trying and you never give up on that, you know, you start to maybe hopefully change some of those minds.
I'm sorry. Lost my place. How do you advocate for peers who are dual diagnosed or have co-occurring mental health disorders?
Oh man, anybody else want to go first?
Well, I'll try. I've had the privilege the past number of weeks to be at the Capitol almost every day with Kim Jones, the executive director of NAMI, Georgia, and work with a coalition called the Mental Health Policy Partnership with many other primarily mental health organizations. And Georgia Behavioral Health Consumer Network, right? That's the right way to say that.
Georgia Mental Health Consumer.
Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. So, the first thing that I try that I've observed, that I've experienced, is that, and I'm just going to be candid, and I know this is zoomed. The addiction part. So behavioral health, it's mental health and addiction, and folks are much more ready to talk about the mental health side of it. How stakeholders and people we're going to. And I have to remind our mental health friends to say the two words, and addiction. And addiction. And so part of it, the reality is it's a struggle to remind folks that I think a majority of people are dual diagnosis, and they kind of have a tendency to gloss over the addiction part of that diagnosis. So in reality, the truth is, I think we're wise to speak up when we're in a room and remind folks that behavioral health also includes addiction. For me, that's been frankly a reality, and it's been embraced by the partnership. It's been embraced by NAMI. But that's been a thing. And then I'll conclude by saying, once you get in front of a stakeholder, if we have the opportunity just to remind them that a majority of people we're talking about, certainly not everybody, this was from childhood trauma and dual diagnosis, and some substance, including alcohol, has been involved. I've literally seen them go, I never thought about that. So you truly are leaders and pioneers when you're out there doing that. And again, when Cody talks about GARR is going to put together panels to focus on dealing with stakeholders in terms of passing legislation, that's part of that. That's part of, you might walk into your local sheriff, let's say, I'm just making this up, and they may be all about mental health. And then they think, oh, well, these are addiction people. I'm not about addiction. But they are. They just don't know they are. And so that's how GARR, with their educational tools, helps you, again, know that we just have to be evangelical and proclaim the gospel that this is all about dual diagnosis.
Yeah, so for us, we have one support group meeting here a week on Wednesdays. It's a DTR meeting, Double Trouble in Recovery, where it focuses on people that have substance use and mental health challenges. And oftentimes when I'm speaking publicly to different civic organizations, I will also include and mental health challenges along with substance use challenges in my messaging. But that is a tough one, man. It's tough. So like either you have insurance that's not through the marketplace and have good mental health coverage and you're able to get good mental health services, or you're reliant on the community service provider. And those are different based on what community that you serve.
Yeah.
And so it's a tough deal for me here locally because if you're trying to find somebody, they go to the community service provider, they get a host of I'm diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. And I'm not. That's not a real thing. But they were diagnosing me at my all-time worst. Right? But on some medical record at Anchor Hospital, they say I'm paranoid schizophrenia. Right? And that's not an accurate diagnosis. And so I call a facility and I'm looking for treatment, and they say, "Do you have any mental health challenge?" Yeah, I have a schizophrenia diagnosis that I don't think is right. We're not fit for you. And it's so hard. But oftentimes you can't accept someone that's not a fit for like your program and guidelines, but it's less focused on the individual and more focused on a diagnosis, right? It's tough to give a blanket policy when it's so individualized and complex to the individual. So a lot of it is like education around that. And then oftentimes for us, we're working with a peer that is trying to get into a facility, but also has dual diagnosis challenges, it's coaching them on how to do the interview. Just because I got a diagnosis from Anchor Hospital in 2003 that's not accurate, that doesn't mean that I need to like lead in with that. So a lot of times we coach people on how to do an intake call, based on like what they're presenting like in that moment, you know. But that's a hard one. That's a great question. There's a lot of work that needs to be done around that. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Just a quick side question before we move to everybody else, since we're speaking to our RCO people here. Do you know if other RCOs in the other local areas and stuff like that, or in the state of Georgia, are offering double trouble and recovery meetings?
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's several of them that
Kind
have
of a
DTR.
little drop to everybody that, hey, know where your local RCO is and know that that is absolutely a resource for your co-occurring mental health clients and residents.
Yeah, and if you have peers on staff that are in recovery from substance use and mental health challenges, like you could actually go through the training with the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network to have a DTR meeting at your location. So that's also an opportunity. Yep. So
Yeah. So we definitely, obviously we definitely run into this often. You know, we serve a large transient population in Macon. So there's a lot of guys come through mandates, a lot of guys come through word of mouth, and you know, even RCOs, you know, Hank and them, they've sent guys our way and ladies our way, and but we run into it mostly within our transient population in Macon. Those that are homeless and they're just kind of they're untreated, unmedicated, and trying to get them to come in. You know, they come off of their meds because they've been told no so many times because of the diagnosis that they're kind of dealing with, and so we get them, they're stabilized. And then about a couple of weeks later, after we've developed a relationship with them, weird things start to happen. And but we're willing to walk with them. You know, we've opened ourselves up. We've created a relationship with accountability court system, the mental health courts around the areas, and they know that we are willing to walk with people whether they're medicated or they're not. So you know, it is tough. It's out there. For us, it's really no hard answer. It's kind of like above our pay grade, you know, so to speak, as far because none of us are psychiatrists and we can't really speak into it. We do partner with the community resources there in Macon, Bibb County. It's River Edge or Flint, and then there's also some private folks that are willing to work with us that see the work that God's doing over there at the rescue mission, and they're completely invested. And then there are those that come and have insurance, and we try to kind of point them in the right direction too. So.
I mean, it is a hard question, simply because, you know, especially in our area, we only have one CSB, and they only have maybe 2 or 3 doctors that see so many people. And so there's always a backlog in terms of trying to get somebody in to see, you know, like several things, like you were saying, like got a diagnosis, you know, 10 years ago when they were in active addiction. And, you know, sure, they might have had psychosis then, but they were using substances. And so trying to figure out how to get them connected to resources can be a real challenge in our area. And a lot of our residents don't have insurance. And so having, you know, resources for individuals who are uninsured, you know, where do they go other than that CSB? I think what we do as far as how do we connect to those peers is just being willing to walk with them, being willing to do everything we can possible to get them the services that they need. And just, you know, it's a challenge for sure. So we do the best that we can. And like you were saying, it can be really challenging because we don't have any doctors or nurses or psychiatrists on staff. Most of our staff are peers. And we used to have several DTR meetings in the area, and none of them are there anymore. And so trying to help bridge that gap and maybe, collaborate with an RCO to get something like that started, again, can be a challenge based on their staff availability. So I don't really have a great answer for that, but we do what we can.
It was real. So I'd like to, for the final 15 minutes, if there's anybody else that has a question around advocacy that they would like to ask our wonderful panel, I will bring the microphone to you. If there's anyone that has something. Do you have anybody on the Zoom, Marcus?
You already asked that question.
I know it. No? Okay, cool. Well, then I'll ask another question. How is it that advocacy can benefit an organization from an employment standpoint? How can you how can you use advocacy in order to gain more employment for residents, more employment opportunity in the community for individuals who we are serving?
Yeah. With us, we do our very best to make community partnerships with the area, just employment, whether it's restaurants. We have Tractor Supply, we have Tyson Foods, we have Amazon is down there. So just trying to do everything that we can to wiggle our way into whatever opening that we can get into, so that we can tell, hey, look, we got guys, we got gals. Hey, they're vetted. Hey, these guys, they're loyal, they're faithful, they're hungry. I try to tell them, hey, people in recovery, they're going to be the very best employee that you've ever hired. They're not lazy. They're fighting. They're getting after it. And that's how we present it, because that's what we believe. That's what we've seen over the past year and a half, some guys, even 2 years. And because we've been around the community for a long time, Rescue Mission's been in Macon since 1952. And so we've been able to establish a lot of relationship. People believe in what God's doing at the mission, through the mission. And so they believe us. And I think that goes a long way. So
I think the relationships are very valuable too. It's like the appropriateness of vetting for whichever opportunity and making sure that when I send somebody and I'm a reference for that individual, that they're a good fit for that organization. So we partner with a variety of organizations, and I appreciate like direct hires with living wage salaries, with opportunities for advancements within the company. That is my go-to, right? That is what I focus on as a relationship, and because those are going to be the best for us. But we also do have some good relationships with a variety of temp agencies, and some have better quality of jobs than others. But it's just vetting for the appropriateness of where the individual is, and also like if we're working with somebody that doesn't have a stable place to live right now, and those things, taking in those things into account is like partnering with other organizations to get that into a place to where they can show up to a job in a way that they're able to like focus on it and do the job. So a lot of it too is keeping that relationship with the agencies, with us and the employers in a good place, and making sure that we're vetting appropriately when we're referring. But like he said, I mean, we are the most loyal, the most driven population that you'll have to work with. And most of our folks show up with a great attitude and really want to learn and really want advancements opportunity within this organization. And our local Goodwill, our education and training center, has received funding specific to second chance employment. So we have a responsibility to partner with them. So they have licensed clinical social workers on staff, 3 of them, that also perform case management throughout their employment journey. And they are strategically, intentionally creating partnerships with organizations that people can, get their benefits within 90 days, incentives for sign-on bonuses, those sort of things. So we have a great partnership with here in this area. So partnering with other organizations that are doing similar things.
And I want to make sure I comment on this kind of as a sidebar. We've talked about advocacy a lot. I want to stress So there's three levels of government, right? Federal, state, and local. The federal level, your member of Congress and your senators, they have staff, like full-time staff. That's their job. And like say Drew Ferguson came over here, Congressman Ferguson. So a mistake that advocates almost always make. He's like, they'll give the congressman a swag bag. Right? Feel good about that. We got a hoodie in there and a coffee cup, and they're a congressman. And that staffer is probably 20 years old, driving them around. They'll give them a swag bag. But I've been the 20-year-old staffer and the chief of staff. At night, it's the 20-year-old staffer who's writing the report. Kelly DeForest was great. You know why he thought they were great? Because he got his swag back too. So advocate to your staff. Down at the state capitol, they don't have independent staffers. Well, some of the leadership do, but the average member doesn't have their own staff member. It's usually a female. They're usually these very nice ladies that answer the phone for 6 or 7 representatives. They're the gatekeeper. If you make her mad. So I just want to remind you, when we talk about advocacy, staff are key to this. So one thing is, don't forget the staff. Now to the specific question. So at the federal level, a lot of members of Congress have job fairs. One of the best ones not far from here is David Scott. He does an annual job fair at a high school. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of employers that show up there. So one thing you do is you get to know at the federal level the district director and the district staff, and you say, hey, we know that every year you bring 200 employers together. Could we get on a Zoom with them? Would you have a conversation about hiring people in recovery? Because we know you got a list. So one way they can help is start connecting the dots of what you see them doing with what we need. Now, that may not be true at the state and federal, at local level, but it might be true. There might be job fairs. So one thing is use what they're doing and start asking them, can they start put qualifications together, or let you guys send an email out to connect. Another one I want to say is, and this is often overlooked, the elected officials themselves are often job creators. I mean, our Georgia legislature is a part-time legislature. Most of them are not multimillionaires. Most of them have a job. Most of them are members through their own job of the local chamber of commerce, and they're the best endorser to you. So 2 things. One, you should be asking them, hey, could you make an introduction for us to speak to the Rotary, to the Kiwanis, to the Chamber, so we can get up there and talk about the value of hiring people in recovery? Can you give us that platform? They're a great endorser to make that happen. And then number 2, ask them to start having a town hall meeting or to invite you to their top private sector employees. Maybe could you get a meeting with 10 of your biggest employers in your city council district or your county commission district to come have a meeting at your facility or Hank's facility and start talking to them in private. So for me, that's where my mind goes, is these connectors. And so your advocacy work builds your credibility with them, and then you can tie it into job creation for our brothers and sisters.
I think one thing for us that really opened the door for a lot of our residents was we had all of our residents have to do a give back project. So 10 hours of service in the community that they don't get paid for. And one of our residents and alumni went out and literally went to any and every business in the local area that he could get to and gave them information about the program, what we do, sharing his story, and asked, would you be willing to hire people like me, basically? And he created a list of second chance employers that now we are able to use with our residents to sit down with them, because all of our residents are required to work. And so, sitting down with them and helping them identify an employer that will be willing to give them a chance. One thing that's challenging, though, is transportation. So they may have this great job opportunity at Caterpillar, but it's all the way across town and they don't have a way to get there. So sometimes it's about just, we try to help our residents understand that you don't have to have a career right now. Let's just find something that'll work for you, that'll help you pay your bills for now, and then let's work towards that career. We also will sit down with our residents and help them, be ready for an interview. We encourage our residents, we don't force them to, obviously, but encourage them to be honest about being in recovery and being in a recovery program so that their employer understands that they got to be back for group at 6:00. So they can't work till 9. And how to say that in a way, instead of I'm an addict or an alcoholic, I'm a person in recovery, and I'm honest and loyal and dependable and those kind of things. So those are just a few things we do to help bridge that gap.
Awesome. Well, we wanted to thank you guys again for your service today. Absolutely.
One more thing, because Todd said something in the beginning, and I said I'd save it for the panel. I do want to say this. I want you guys to hear this because it's right here from the heart, but it's also from the professional aspect. I want you guys to understand how hard Todd, in particular, as your executive director, but also Mason and Cody, have been on this bill, on the piece of legislation. They've done the heavy lifting. They have convinced a member of the General Assembly to introduce a piece of legislation. That's a big deal. And they got 2 co-signers who are a doctor. Well, they're both doctors, Dr. Watson and Dr. Kirkpatrick. They're premier members of the General Assembly, and that's because of the work that Todd is doing at the staff level and Cody and Mason are doing at the board level. So I want you to understand that GARR at that level right here is doing phenomenal things. And Todd and I've had plenty of conversations about working at the federal level. And I just want to congratulate them for their success. I want you guys to understand that what they're doing is next level stuff, and they are to be commended. But for every meeting that Todd goes to, and maybe with me at the Capitol, I want you to hear this. Todd's power is you. Todd's power is you. When you make the connections in your local communities with all your stakeholders, government, business, education, faith, other civic things like Rotary Club. When you make that, and they know you, Todd's at the Capitol, and he meets Senator Smith from Bainbridge, Georgia. He doesn't live in Bainbridge. You don't live in Bainbridge. Somebody serves the people of Bainbridge at the local level here. Maybe not in this room today, but some member does. So when that senator goes home, they're talking to folks in the community. They're not talking about Todd. They're talking about you. And when you have built the relationships, and that senator asked that sheriff, these recovery folks okay down here? We know them. Boom, that's where you're his power. So he's your power, and you're his power. And between the two of you, you actually help human beings. So I just wanted to congratulate you and the two of you and the board for your leadership. And I wanted you guys to know that you should really get behind what they're doing. Thank you.
And
We're good? Yep. Sure. Yep. Okay. All right, folks. Wrap up here again. Thank you guys. Jason, thanks for jumping in 12 minutes. It's been an hour and 12 minutes ago. I appreciate that. It's been a great meeting, and I'll throw this out since we're trying to get these things recorded. And again, I just want to give a shout out to Marcus, the guy behind the scenes and the technology guru. so it's important what we continue to do with these meetings and try to bring very relevant topics and trainings, and appreciate all that are part of the process. I want to announce where the next meeting is going to be, which is at the Cherokee Rock RCO. Again, if you ever have a question about what's coming up event-wise, it's on the website. You'll hear me say that 4 million more times that you'll know me, but if you have any questions, it's on the website. And now, pretty much the rest of the year is on the calendar. We're going to fill in some of the details about where those particular member meetings are. But all of the member meetings, all of the networking events that we have coming up, the safety summit, which is in June, is a big meeting. You can get your CPR certification, you get your Narcan certification, all those types of things in June, and that will be at the Covenant Church down off of North Avenue, where we've had our summit meeting the last few years. So all those details, again, will be on the website. And then I just want to quick wrap up while I still have the mic and the camera, and kind of back to what Jeff and what's in front of us. What's in front of us is really building some momentum and some coalition around what is to come. Again, I'm getting ready to speak about stuff I don't really know. I'm just trying to be a really good student behind this gentleman who part of these processes is like, hey, you know what? I love learning. It's what keeps me going. I've been grateful to be coming up on 20 years sober myself, long-term recovery. And one of the things that gets me out of bed and excited about life is continuing to learn, continuing to grow, and also helping others grow. And so while we learn this, it's an opportunity for you to learn it too. But one of those things I've learned from Jeff is the more momentum and coalition that we can get behind this thing as we keep moving forward, the more we have. This is about evidence-based. The more evidence-based that we can present to those lawmakers that justify and rationalize why this is something that they need to get behind is important. So we'll be reaching out or giving you opportunities to participate at those levels. And, so I just wanted to throw that out as this process unfolds. So I think that's it. Again, thank you guys and gals and 25/8 workers in this industry for the time and the effort that it took you to get here and be here today. And those on the Zoom, we appreciate you as well. And again, we certainly appreciate Marcus Britt, who has made this all happen, and will hopefully bring this to the website and in long time trainings as we move forward. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Cal.